Jonathan Swift, the Dean of the St. Patrick Cathedral, once said he was a bold man that first ate on oyster. As a designer, I find myself being a chef who cooks and then ties a dish. Uh, I wasn't familiar with before, and the dish is ordered by a client. Actuality, I like doing something new and finding my knowledge of style and techniques without focusing on one that is safe of problem. This walk demonstration how I combine different techniques, including handmade paper, two-step letterpress printing that always the reproduce on overlapping effects, and also calligraphy that adds dynamic and emotion aspect to the wild composition. This is word battle in the title of my speech. Hoffman, in his short novel Little Tsachis, great Zinnober, wrote about Balthazar, a student that was very romantic and enthusiastic in contrast with Fabian, a straight-thinking man. Balthazar could see a crystal thing and courage or a golden battle and butler. Thus, this he managed of avoid Zinnober's sources. And so I try to create emotion, heart things instead of using commercial design or benefits of trends or fashion, as well as to carry on a dialogue instead of making monologues. I think that most exciting challenge for a designer is to understand other people and to know the reach out to them. Let me show you how it works in practice. A client of Boston graduated from conservatory and defended thesis of Gustav Mahler music. His grandparents to cultivate to him love to music and died, and he ordered a dedication in this honor glory. His grandfather was German and owned a guitar shop, while his grandmother was a Greek pianist. That was an common project. In Mahler Symphony number 2, there is a sentence in German that says, "Rise again, yes, rise again, thou wilt." The composer wrote it in the final parts of the symphony. So I translated these sentences into Greek and then found a solo part in the score respective to the sentence. I put the notes in calligraphy. As a result, it was in unison with the memory uniting Mahler, love, death, and resurrection. The client was touching to tears and heartfelt thankful. Sometimes it comes to the telepathy. Alexander Filonenko, my friend and well-known philosopher, asked me to create a cover design for his dissertation, the presence of the other of gratitude. That goes along with the subject of the conference. Walking through Smyrna, I saw encrusted table of 17th century in the Museum of Decorative Arts, and I kept them in my mind. When working on the cover design, I remember this table and created a pretty image of the stone, flowers, and blossom with points calligraphy. It came out that is totally match the book itself that say about the transformation of the new humanity and understanding for other into finding a friend thought the animation and blossom of the stone soul. Sometimes I collaborate with the people from our historic past. Just imagine what can relate Magyar nomads with the Bible translation into Slavic languages. Of course, except for the attack of the Saint Cyril and Methodius caravan going to Hazaria and was reflecting on the Bible cover design. How could I make different from number of other design Bible? At the time, I was in Budapest and come to historical museum. There I saw speaking armors of Magyar culture. They gave me to clue on how to reproduce the nomads' life under the sky, prepared to the world of the Old and New Testament. I added same Christian symbol and got a mind-blowing cosmic extravaganza with start and angles of night away. These variants. Cooperation was very important aspect. That is gratitude, able to survive thought the death. I was um, lucky to talk to a saint person, a Roman Catholic priest, Padre Romano Scalfi. A long time ago, he founded the organization in Bergamo that served as a mediator between the Eastern and Western Christianity. And that project believes from the religion's persecution in the atheistic period in the USSR history. After the death of Padre Romano, we set up a monumental on his honor together with the sculptor Sergei Antonov and Russian poet Olga Sidakova and the Italian architect Marco Malone. The cross-shaped profile combined with Pascal homily of John Chrysostom on Italian and Russian languages. As you can see, I choose two units of Langobardic monumental inscription style with the Slavic calligraphy and ordered the emphasis the culture connection between the East and the West installed of Padre Romano. This is fonts. This fonts in the stone. I and Marco Malone also worked in the San Zeno reliquary for Basilica in Verona. The font is based on the religious inscription of 11th century and the prior text and engraved on the reliquary golden facets. This is Basilica from San Zeno. This is development of fonts, and I made many ligatures, and this is a result on the gold reliquary. Speaking about Italy, I like to mention that sometimes I teach in the Florence Academy for Classic Arts, of which I have designed this logo. This academy focuses on teaching classical and arts. As for the design, it's directed to teach handwork, moving away from the modern man-made aesthetic. Together with students, we work on the wine labels, practice engraving, and calligraphy. Academics, curators, and friends are always average people. For example, Strozzi family that used to be rivals with the Medici family. By the way, these two pretty women are the 15th great granddaughter of Mona Lisa. One of the Strozzi vineyard was even mentioned in the Decameron of Giovanni Boccaccio, and I got one order from the for wine brand design. When I learning deeper, this family tree and create a genealogical tree using graving and calligraphy. Collaboration can be related to a specific place. These are calligraphy etude dedicated to my favorite Italian cities that I like to walk thought. Each city its own plastic image, particularity, mood and style that I wanted to reproduce with calligraphy. Sometimes it's an action that gives you a retain mood. For instance, I had created a culinary collaboration with a fish when created to logo and style for the Italian restaurant fish soup. To be fair, I have to say that Italy was a special atmosphere. Once I was looking at a amazing Florence skyline from the Villa Morgan, where, as the legend says, lived young Michelangelo with his nanny. At that moment, a Catholic priest, a Roman monastery, wrote me on Facebook. He said that my work and movement were followed since I was in Italy, that wanted to invite me to Rome for a project. I came to Minims Monastery, a famous construction of Francesco Baramini. Nikolai Gogol often come to this Sant'Andrea delle Fratte. I created a logo and style for this church, as well as font based on the inscription on the floor of the Santuaria Madonna del Miracolo, that we barely visible because of a larger number of pilgrims visiting that church. An exhibition dedicated to Maria Alphonse Ratisbonne and the miracle that happened of him was held in the church garden. So the calligraphy inscription and the glass panel, one can see flowering trees and the stone walls of the ancient city. And has a this is a gift for Pope, my books. This is a prior book of a Roman Catholic Church in Ukrainian that combined European prayers with the Ukrainian ornaments. When working on the religions projects, it's important for a designer to become and art expect and to understand that they can do in the context of Tsaritan tradition of the they can do something modern and innovative, as well as what aesthetic and symbolic method can help to follow the consistency of integrity. I appreciate the ability to shift between cultural layers and subject working simultaneously on totally different project from the point of view of the world perception. Hans Urs von Balthazar, a Catholic theologian, wrote in the Theostatic that a beauty can pass bounds of great connection for the people and ideas do not agree. Once I paint of the Orthodox Church, this Orthodox Church with the Roman monumental letter, with the touch of the Cyrillic character. While making a pause, I sent down email with remuneration and Sufi poster for a Turkish theatre of Istanbul. After having finish my working, I discussed of oratory design in Hebrew with these marvelous people. Yuri Gershovich, the director of Research Center for Yiddish Museum and Tolerance Center, and Yuri Sherlin, composer. Exodus Triad Oratory is a heart-piercing story about sufferings of the Yiddish people from the Exodus to pogroms and Holocaust. So this is a historic subject. I tried to underline the actuality Hebrew-related shapes in an experimental typography for the first time. Was spoken in Tchaikovsky Concert Hall during the oratorio premiere. Another project I working with Yuri Gershovich and Georgi Zeltser for the Electrotheater Stanislavski was dedicated to Yiddish Italian playwriting Yehuda Soma. The play has a set of sense layers. The essential talk full allusions and reference of the Talmud. That's why we choose Hebrew typographic with the comments forming the structure. The poster was designed so that with development of the plot, the font size decreased and went off into the infinity. By that the text universe was close to Judaic world view. The Near East, by its nature, is a sort of the melting pot of the different culture and writing. This is my photo in Syria. I found is very important in the search of the shapes. I try to study Eastern choreography from Greek to Arabic, from Hebrew to Syriac. Summer language school in Volyn is a good example of a situation where friendship and the common word perception and stronger than the borders and military conflicts. Sergei Lozov is in the center, is a worldwide known scientific philologist and brave Russian dissidents. Together with the Sciences of Semitic Language Department, came to the Ukrainian National University in Ostrog Academy. Together with Dmitry Tsolin and other Ukrainian colleagues, they taught students and languages of Arabic, mystic, Yiddish, wise man, and Syriac science. I create, I'm sorry, return. I create a logo for this project, combined the stage of the Hebrew later development. This friendly atmosphere gave birth to a name of mutual projects. After having mastered Syriac writing of a Stroke Academy, I helped my friend Oleksiy with the design of his work about Isaac of Syrian. Syrian ornaments, crosses, styled Syriac writing, difficult parallel layout, and two languages. All these efforts were undertaken of make a piece of art out the strict scientific books. This works was highly evaluated Sebastian Brock, the famous academic in the field of Syriac language in University of Oxford. And this picture I with Sebastian Brock in Oxford. This used me to the work on the Eastern culture. I was happy to work the project was famous American publishing house Gorgias Press. It was a calligraphy spiral after the many of the magic Syrian bowls with the publishing house history in it. One of the most challenges tasks for me is not only connecting culture but also connecting writing. Here's an example of the combination of different writings in the design of book cover on the Christian Est. The writing I connect for this book cover Slavic, Greek, Georgian, Ethiopian, and Syriac. This is result for cover. I had another collaboration with the works in mosaic. I elaborated Georgian fonts in order to make it appropriate for the mosaic. A couple of years ago, this is sketch. This is a Finnish inscription in mosaics. This is copybook. A couple of years ago, Baron von Hank and owner of Castle of Germany contact to me. I designed a tourist brand of him based on the Roman inscription and font with different ligatures. And now let's pass something, and then we were so aesthetic that we began to work on the beer and wine brands and even coins design. One day I visit Baron together with my friends and we paint to the walls and the door of the historical place and created a design for the same bee labels. And now let's pass to something monumental in the city of Lublin, Poland. I was given opportunity to paint a house during the PJAIT festival. This is a gift from Ukrainian because it entered the letters for my friends Andrei Shevchenko, Kirill Tkachев with my calligraphy. After well, this is finished. After having paint on the vertical, I passed to the horizontal. I took paint to the 100 meters paper roll with the Bible message in Polish. The street was transformed to a book that reads could walk on. Professor Krzysztof Belowicz invited to me to the Plaster Festival in Toruń city in Poland to paint a wall. The festival was dedicated to the designers working with handmade techniques. The collaboration was amazing. I walked near the Peter Bankov. I choose a sentence by Stanislav Jezelets that says, sometimes I have a feeling that our existence is a common hallucination of humanity. I used the sticky type in order to make the inscription look illusory. After having finished my work, I removed the type and the Gothic got its postmodern character. This is finish work in the wall. Welcome to text. Do not live on their own. They exist in the church area and communicate with holy pictures. I collaborated with Andrei Anisimov and the Guild of Church Curators that I had also created a logo. This is logo. Some years ago, I worked on the biggest performance of my life. In 10 days and nights, I painted the church wall with prior text, 10,000 of letters, along with the holy images on the walls, format whose three dimension books. It was not only calligraphy experience, but also an aesthetic one. I almost hadn't slept, and the time I was always staying on the stars, and I had a feeling of space on the gravity and physics level. Otherwise, I would have fallen. One can draw a style vertical line, either using a ruler or filling this line with a spinal cord and the being able to draw it with eyes closed. This is a difference between natural belief and an artificial of Christianity is either a fire of is doesn't exist. That what Mother Marie Skoptsova said. I worked on the design of the exhibition dedicated on this woman that was held in the Italy last year. During the war, Saint Mother Marie saved a lot of people's lives and accepted martyr death, supporting Yiddish people in the concentration camp. She came a sign for both Christian and Judaism. I tried to express her personality in my calligraphy, such a combatant person that endlessly loved everyone in need. This example is reflected in the project I worked together with Nikolai Stock from the museum in Solovki, dedicated the oppressed killed in Solovki special camp. The inscription were written in calligraphy graffiti style of Sophia Kiev Cathedral. It looks like these are the last word and scratch out on the prison wall crying before being shot down. Walking with such emotionally together and so subject a painting not only serves usual designer pieces. But also get um, priceless experience of responsibility and moral evolution of the event. Here is a house in Kharkiv city where live Alexander Vedensky. He wrote poems for children that were published and also poems of adult that he kept of himself. One day, NKVD agents came to his house and arrested him. He died soon, and a lot of his poems were destroyed. However, one of the greatest poems of the 20th century was saved. I made a typographic object out of it. I put the elegy text on 5 glass panels with with the wall where people used to kill it as the background. The Ukrainian calligraphy tradition very important for me. This is a prior book in Ukrainian, and I made font design picture for Ukrainian tradition and influence Greek inscription. This is influential Greek writing to Ukrainian, and this logo for very important church council in the Ukrainian for Ukrainian Orthodox Church. And in the finish, I show my work in the Ukrainian book cover and font design. The book Grigory Narbut and same book design for Ukrainian subject. And I made now the first English magazine about Ukrainian modern Ukrainian culture and art. This is same picture in this magazine. And finish subject for my lecture. The very interesting because I combined calligraphy and letterpress technologies. I worked in many towns in Europe. This is typography letterpress studio in Oxford. This is process printing. I study other typography style and try made in new variants. This is rabbit posters. This is poster about Lewis Carroll. You can see combined calligraphy and letterpress typography. This is printing house in Oxford. The poster about snark. Poster, the poem of Beckett, and I add other style calligraphy. The letterpress working in Budapest. Many experiments with calligraphy, metal type, and handmade calligraphy. The first step, printing letterpress, and next step, calligraphy and finish posters. Poster about Jumbly, many variants. This is I worked in Lublin in publish house Domslov. This is prior before sleep for Daniel Harms. Hans Arp. Apollinaire. This is postmodernic effects. This poster. Yiddish prior. The experiment with pulp of paper. Scribe and print. The very interesting technologies, the type made type paper. And after printing the letterpress typography. The figurative posters about Geush Kurupi, Ukrainian futurist. Daniel Harms. Handmade kerning in the wood. In collisions, I like you a work that has become a sort of the canonical for the Cyrillic calligraphy. A Ukrainian philosopher, Georgy Skovroda, once said, "The world tried to catch me, but don't succeed." These words demonstrate the spirit of the creativity freedom. I follow this this phrase in my life as well as in design, because nothing can be more important than the internal freedom and independence.